First contact diplomacy, humanity's silent glare. The great starships of the Galactic Council shimmered in Earth's skies like descending gods. Massive, ornate, and engineered to impress, they hovered over the capitals of every major nation. Washington, D.C., Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, London, Brasilia, Lagos. Their arrival blocked out the sun in places, casting shadow across continents. It was meant to be awe-inspiring, a symbol of ultimate authority. Instead, it felt like a storm warning. Inside the United Nations Assembly Hall, delegates from across Earth sat in stiff silence as a tall, four-eyed alien with luminous silver skin took the stage. Ambassador Veiltor of the Thrixian hegemony adjusted his glimmering robe and gave a performative nod, more ceremonial than respectful. He began to speak, his voice translated in real time into every language on Earth. People of Earth, the Galactic Council extends its hand in unity, peace, and lawful integration. As a developing civilization, your world is to be welcomed into our collective, under terms consistent with Council law and historical precedent. The words "under terms" made the room shift uncomfortably. You will be disarmed of all orbital weaponry. A provisional compliance governor will be assigned to oversee your transition. Sovereignty will be suspended during this period for your own stability. This is standard procedure. The room remained dead still. President Okoro of Nigeria leaned forward slightly. And if we refuse? Veiltor smiled, eyes narrowing in amusement. That would be unfortunate. However, no member world has ever refused. Once they understand the benefits of council membership, they see reason. He gestured toward a holographic display. Trade, medicine, technology, star maps, long life. The alternative is isolation, obsolescence, irrelevance, even annihilation, should instability spiral beyond tolerance. It was a threat, veiled but unmistakable. The humans didn't shout or argue. They didn't protest or panic. Instead, they sat in a kind of unbroken, eerie stillness, exchanging silent glances with each other, as if hearing the alien's speech confirmed something they had all quietly expected. President Sophia Rivas of the Pan-American Alliance gave a polite nod. We appreciate your message. Humanity will consider the offer. Veiltor frowned slightly. Consider? Yes, she replied evenly. We will discuss it, among ourselves, in our own time. The ambassador raised a brow. The council requires an answer within one rotation of your planet. 24 hours. President Rivas smiled. Noted, that was the end of it. The alien delegation left. The ships remained, looming. But no answer ever came. By the second day, the Council's communication links with Earth went silent. The Terranet, Earth's planetary data grid, shut off access to all interstellar channels. The Council's ambassadorial compound in Geneva found its servers firewalled and its uplink cut. When they sent a request to reopen channels, they received a single message. Pending internal discussion. Do not interfere. In the Council's central chamber aboard the orbital capital station Axion Prime, the reaction was baffled amusement at first. Councilors scoffed and shook their heads. Humanity was young, bold, uncultured. They were simply playing for leverage. All species tried to negotiate at the start. But 2 days became 3, then 5, then 10. No answer, no messages, no protests, no conditions, just silence. In that silence, human military assets began quietly shifting into place. Orbital platforms, previously thought to be civilian, were powered up. Hidden kinetic launchers emerged from beneath Arctic ice sheets. Lunar bases, once dismissed as token colonial efforts, revealed defensive shielding arrays and deep space radar grids. Council analysts took notice. Councilor Nox Theory of the Jalari Dominion, a species known for its cold logic, stood in the chamber and voiced what many feared. They are not posturing. They are not bargaining. They are preparing. Veiltor slammed his fist on the ceremonial table. Preparing for what? They cannot possibly stand against us. They think they can, the Jalari replied softly. And that makes them dangerous. 3 weeks after the Council's arrival, Earth's embassies across the galaxy were closed. Human diplomats boarded ships in silence and returned home. Communications went dark. No demands, no threats, just withdrawal, a quiet severing of ties. Inside the Axion Prime war rooms, high-ranking strategists grew alarmed. Every other species in history had followed a predictable pattern: resist, argue, eventually submit. Humanity broke the pattern. There were no riots on Earth, no visible turmoil. Surveillance drones spotted unified military exercises, intercontinental logistics running without delay, orbital shipyards increasing output. Humanity had stopped talking, and that terrified them. By the end of the month, a lone Council scout ship attempted to reinitiate contact by entering Earth's orbit without clearance. It never returned. A data capsule was later found floating near Jupiter's moon Europa. Inside, the ship's black box footage, blinding light, system shutdown, static, then silence. Attached to the capsule was a message. Simple, cold, unmistakably human. We do not negotiate under threat. The gathering storm. Humanity rearms in the shadows. From above, Earth looked unchanged. Oceans shimmering blue, continents carved in green and gold, the pale swirl of clouds blanketing the surface like a veil. But beyond that veil, the planet was no longer the same. It was preparing for war. Underground in Colorado, inside NORAD's deepest classified levels, the Terra Accord Command Council met behind sealed blast doors. No cameras, no networks, no recordings. Just a room of human generals, scientists, diplomats, and AI overseers, surrounded by hard stone and cold silence. At the head of the table stood General Ayaka Tanaka, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense. Her voice was steady, clipped, and without illusion. They expected submission. Instead, they received a wall of silence. Now we show them what grows behind that wall. With a flick of her wrist, the holodable lit up. A ring of red markers outlined the solar system. Orbital defense platforms, cloaked drone fleets, high-orbit kinetic stations, railgun emplacements hidden on Mars. The Council had only seen a fraction of humanity's actual capabilities. Earth's surface remained quiet by design. But in space, in silence, humanity was sharpening its knives. Across the asteroid belt, mining rigs had been retrofitted into ship foundries. Civilian habitats were now hardened bunkers, each one lined with kinetic shielding and pulse arrays. Luna's far side, once a graveyard of abandoned research domes, had become home to Earth's first deep space artillery platform, Mjolnir Station, capable of launching projectiles at 40 kilometers per second, each one a tungsten rod the size of a freight train. General Tanaka gestured again. A new set of icons appeared. Alien ships, Council surveillance probes, known infiltration paths. They've sent no fewer than 6 reconnaissance attempts this week alone, all intercepted. 0 survivors. The AI node in the room, designation Veda, added in a cool voice. Council intelligence strategies remain predictable. Targeting satellites were seeded with digital countermeasures. Probes were corrupted mid-transit. Their AI threat analysis protocols are 11.2 years behind ours. A chuckle rippled around the table. Not joy, grim satisfaction. Thousands of kilometers away, inside Earth's orbital shipyard, Fort Kessler, engineers and soldiers worked day and night, constructing a new class of warship, the TNS Vengeance, first of the Titan-class dreadnoughts. Its hull bristled with modular weapons platforms, anti-gravity shielding, and a cloaked AI command core. It was designed to do one thing: break fleets in half. Captain Elias Ward, assigned to the Vengeance, reviewed schematics while sipping recycled coffee in the command tower. "You know what scares me?" he muttered to his XO. "Not that the Council wants a fight, but that we might not even give them the chance to surrender." The XO nodded grimly. "They thought we were primitives. Now they'll find out we've just been quiet." Meanwhile, back on Axion Prime, the Galactic Council was growing nervous. The humans hadn't spoken in over 30 standard cycles. No threats, no apologies, no bargaining, just silence and static. Ambassador Vale Tor, once smug and composed, now paced like a caged animal. "They're building something," he hissed during a high-level security briefing. "We should have crushed them when we arrived." Counselor Noxthery responded coldly. "You were sent to secure their cooperation, not provoke an extinction-level event." "But they won't talk." "Exactly," the Jalari elder said. "That is what makes them dangerous. Silence is not peace. It is focus." New intelligence reports trickled in. Diplomatic envoys had been turned away from neutral zones where humans were now operating. Former Earth colonies, like Ceres Station and Europa Outpost, had vanished from galactic tracking databases. One report, marked Omega Priority, contained decrypted drone footage showing Terran stealth ships operating deep in Council-designated territory without being detected. They watched the Council. They studied their formations. They were already inside. In the shadows of the Milky Way's spiral arm, a small task force of human stealth corvettes floated near a Council refueling station. The ships, barely visible even under sensor sweeps, recorded every fuel shipment, fleet movement, and patrol route. Commander Lyra Vasquez watched from her seat aboard the TNS Umbra. "They still don't know we're here," she murmured, zooming in on a capital ship docked for resupply. A junior officer looked up. "Orders, ma'am." "Keep watching," Vasquez said. "Every ship we let go now is one less to deal with when this starts." Back on Earth, the newly formed Global Civil Unity Pact rolled out global conscription, but quietly. Universities began shifting toward engineering and weapons research. Civilians were trained in planetary defense under the guise of natural disaster readiness. Military drills tripled. Satellites with communications functions began disappearing, replaced with weapons platforms. But the world did not panic. There were no mass riots, no protests. The entire species, 8 billion strong, seemed to understand something deeper than words. This wasn't about domination. This was about survival, on humanity's terms. In the council chamber, Veiltor stared at the latest intercepted message. It was brief, brutal, and coldly human. "We did not ask for war, but we will not ask for peace either." Counselor Noxthery stared at the message for a long time. "The storm is coming," he whispered, "and they're building it in silence." Shock and awe, the fall of the Outer Ring. The Council fleet that vanished near the Kepler Expanse had included 17 warships. It was dispatched quietly, without a formal declaration, under the pretense of preemptive containment. Their mission was simple: move into the Outer Ring systems near human-controlled zones and stabilize the region before Earth could militarize it further. They never sent a word back, not even a distress signal. In response, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session aboard Axion Prime. The chamber buzzed with tension. Fear, once absent from the ruling body, now stained every voice. "They have taken the Kepler line," Veiltor spat, slamming his fist on the stone table. That was not just silence. That was a declaration of war. "No," corrected Counselor Noxthery coldly. "That was a demonstration." A holomap flickered to life, displaying the Kepler Expanse. Red XS marked where the fleet had last been seen. Analysis drones had since entered the region. Most were destroyed. A few returned with fragments of the wreckage. Melted hulls, torn apart engines. Some with no sign of energy weapons, just kinetic destruction at scales never before seen. "We found tungsten rods embedded in the core of 3 capital ships," a Jalari analyst explained. "No heat signature, no warning, just impact." Veiltor's voice cracked with disbelief. "They turned their asteroid mining platforms into orbital weapons." "Yes," Noxthery nodded. "And they did so while we watched and failed to understand." The first public acknowledgement of open war came not from Earth, but from a fringe council outpost, Cairo Station, located along a neutral trade route. A station built for commerce and diplomacy, not war. It was incinerated in 4 seconds. Security feeds captured only the opening frames, a glint of reflective metal in the void, then a pulse of blinding white. No fleet, no ships, just a single projectile moving at a fraction below light speed. Later analysis showed it came from Mjolnir Station, Earth's hidden orbital artillery platform beyond the Kuiper Belt. A warning shot, or a message. Back on Earth, President Sofia Rivas addressed humanity in a broadcast that echoed across the globe and to every Terran ship in space. No species that threatens us deserves our submission. They sent terms. We sent silence. Now they send fleets. She paused, looking straight into the camera. We will not plead for peace. We will end this, on our terms. And then we will speak. Not before. It was the only message the Council received from Earth. The last before what came next. In the Aldari sector, home to one of the Council's largest forward bases, an armada of Terran stealth ships emerged from the dark. The Black Dawn Offensive, as it would later be called, struck with synchronized precision across 6 star systems in under 7 minutes. Human ships didn't engage in drawn-out battles. They assassinated. Council destroyers exploded before alarms even sounded. Communications blacked out instantly. Shipyards were atomized by micro-warp bombs, tech no other known civilization had ever used. The worst blow came at Fort Helion, a fortress moon orbiting the gas giant Vexor. It was known as an impenetrable bastion, defended by elite Praetorian-class warships. It fell in 19 minutes. The final feed from Helion showed a single Terran ship drifting toward the command tower. A message was transmitted just before contact. This is not your galaxy to govern anymore. Then the screen turned white. As word of the devastation spread, chaos began to ripple through the Council. Dozens of minor member species immediately severed ties, fearing reprisal. Civil unrest erupted in 3 major systems. Council protectorates began declaring neutrality en masse. The illusion of invincibility shattered. Veil Tor demanded retaliation. We must strike Earth directly. Now, before they what? Nox Theory interrupted sharply. Finish what they've already begun. He stared at the tactical projections, watching human fleets break through the outer ring. You still don't understand. We're not dealing with a rebellious species. Veil Tor scoffed. Then what are they? Nox Theory turned to him slowly, his gaze heavy with dread. We are dealing with a species that has never known conquest. Only survival. They don't expand because they want to dominate. They expand because they refuse to kneel. To anyone. On Europa Base, now one of Earth's primary command hubs, General Ayaka Tanaka received the latest after-action report. She read it in silence, then nodded. Estimated Council casualties, 39,000. Terran losses, 7. She looked to her staff, her voice unwavering. This isn't a war. This is a reckoning. Captain Ward, aboard the TNS Vengeance, leaned back in his chair, watching as the Council's outer systems fell like dominoes. They called us children with toys, he muttered. His XO replied. Now they see what happens when children stop playing. For the first time in known galactic history, the Council issued a ceasefire request without any formal conditions. Earth didn't respond. Judgment Day, when silence breaks. The Council's capital, Axion Prime, had never seen fear like this. The high towers that once pierced the stars were dimmed. The flagships that once represented 10,000 years of dominance now orbited the station on high alert. Weapons primed, shields raised, paranoia thick in every corridor. Because humanity still had not answered, and that silence was louder than any declaration of war. In the Grand Chamber, Councillor Nox Theory addressed the surviving representatives, many of whom attended virtually, unwilling to risk gathering in person. The Terrans have crossed no diplomatic threshold. They have issued no formal demand, no ultimatum. Yet every week, one of our strongholds falls. They're choosing their targets with surgical precision. Councillor Veil Tor stood, his face pale but voice defiant. We cannot surrender to them without terms. We do not even know what they want. Another councillor cried. Do they seek territory? Technology? Revenge? Nox Theory shook his head. They want nothing from us. That is what terrifies me most. The lights in the chamber dimmed. A new message had been received. It wasn't from a diplomat, not from a transmission hub. It came from a drone, recovered floating near Council space, carrying a sealed Terran capsule. It bore no encryption. It did not need any. A single phrase, carved into alloy. We asked for nothing. You threatened us. You offered chains. We chose silence. Now we speak once. Listen well. Attached to it was a data archive, proof of intercepted council communications, detailed logs of war planning against Earth that predated the first diplomatic contact, blueprints of governance programs meant to sterilize Earth's autonomy, population control drafts, planetary surveillance grids. It wasn't a rebellion. It was retaliation. Earth had known from the beginning. In orbit over Earth, the TNS Vengeance held position alongside a dozen other capital ships. The once hidden fleet had revealed itself now, not for war, but for arrival. General Ayaka Tanaka stood aboard the lead ship, her uniform as sharp as her words. "The Council is not just losing," she said to her commanders. "It is unraveling, and we haven't fired the last shot." Admiral Mason, grizzled from 3 campaigns, grunted. "Do we give them a chance to surrender?" Tanaka shook her head. "They had their chance. We gave them silence. That was our mercy." At the edges of the Orion Arm, an emergency summit was called. Not by the Council, but by the neutral worlds. Dozens of independent species, small nations, and ancient civilizations gathered at Coral Station to discuss the Terran offensive. But no human representative attended. Instead, a Terran AI construct was transmitted into the chamber, projected as a simple black sphere that hovered quietly in the air. "I am Echo. I speak for the Terran Accord," it said. A brave delegate from the Linthari asked, "Why have your people waged war with no communication?" "No demands," Echo replied, voice even and emotionless. "You mistake silence for absence. We were listening. You chose threats over trust, weapons over words. Your council sought to dominate before it understood." The Linthari delegate pressed on. "And what do you want now?" The sphere turned slowly. "Not vengeance, not conquest, just this, that you remember who started this." It paused. "And who finished it?" Then the projection faded. That night, a council shipyard on the edge of Coral Space detonated, its command systems hijacked by an AI Virus 2 advance for council firewalls. There was no doubt left. The war was ending, and the council had lost. Inside the decaying war chambers of Axion Prime, panic reached its peak. Half the fleets had retreated to their home systems. Worlds began declaring independence by the hour. Smugglers began selling council technology to Terran intermediaries in exchange for safe passage. When humanity finally sent one last message, one that reached every star system simultaneously, no one dared to block it. The message was a simple broadcast. A woman's voice, calm, articulate, unmistakably human. "This is Earth. You try diplomacy with arrogance. We answer with silence. You sent fleets. We buried them. You ruled in fear. We respond with precision. Let the stars remember this day. We do not kneel. We do not forget. And we do not forgive threats cloaked as treaties. To those who seek peace, we will listen. To those who demand obedience, we will answer with steel. The age of empires is over. Welcome to the era of humanity." One solar cycle later, the Galactic Council dissolved. Axion Prime became a historical archive, not a seat of power. Human advisors were quietly invited to help form new coalitions. Not rulers, not conquerors, just watchers. Every empire that had once mocked Earth now kept their distance. Humanity did not raise flags across conquered stars. They did not install governors. They simply vanished again into silence. But that silence now echoed across the galaxy, and no one dared disturb it.